Hello and welcome back to another installment of Fodder. Once again, it's becoming a pattern here with this game. Every 2 weeks there is, I'm not going to say a meta-defining update, but there is a big update. And I mentioned this before in a previous video where I feel like every 2 weeks they do a completely new meta. We'll just call it a meta, even though it's not really game changing. And then they will alternate that with just kind of a continuation of the previous. So with the grass, we had the Swords of Justice come out. Like we had the big grass and then the Swords of Justice, which was kind of a continuation of the grass since most of those came out around the same time. And with last night or this morning's new update, we've got some craziness. I don't even know where to begin. So I guess where we will start is, if you noticed on my home screen there, they have new time boosters, moss, and basically these are just the orange boosters. I guess people were complaining about the orange boosters, so they changed the color, but nothing else that I can tell has changed. You still only have 2 EX Pokemon that you are going to be able to pull. They're still gym specific. I think this kind of confirms that we are going to have a ground water or water ground. It doesn't really matter at this point, but ground and water are going to be the types. I guess it's going to be ground with 2 MP and water types with the plus 20 damage if they continue doing gyms the way they have in the past. And I still believe that this is going to change sometime in the near future. But if they are going to go ahead and continue this pattern of a big change followed by, you know, kind of a smaller or a gym part 2, if you'll notice, like on the grass, they had grass gym, and then on the next one that we had, I believe it said like grass gym 2 or something of that nature. I can't remember exactly, but this would set up the following gym, you know, in 3 weeks' time to be ground electric, possibly, or maybe another water electric, something along those lines. I think ground electric is kind of the common thought. But that would hold true. So there's that, and then there's those moss colored, which are just, it's just a different color. 20 million downloads. You get the, what is that, 876 gems for $8 is back. Really good deal if you're free to play but don't mind dropping 10 bucks on a game. That's a really good deal. It'll almost get you 3 sextuple packs, which are back, and you are limited to 5. And I've already opened mine. Of course, you know that I've already opened mine. And of course, there's a video of it. I will definitely be putting that video of my booster openings at the end of this video. So you can kind of fast forward through if you don't really care about all this part. And then we have a new plate available, Mud Energy. During this duel, if there are 2 or more water type Pokemon and 2 or more ground type Pokemon on the field, your opponent's Pokemon on the field get plus 1 MP, plus 1 to weight effects they receive. Now let me just preface everything else that's going to happen in this video by saying this. A, the names of these Pokemon are ridiculous, and like yesterday, I think Feraligatr is the name of the Pokemon. He's Fergie. We're just going to call him Fergie, and I'm not belittling the name of the Pokemon, but Feraligatr, I don't even remember what I called it yesterday, but it was wrong, whatever it was, and you guys were so kind to point that out. But I'm just telling you now, I've been looking at these Pokemon most of today. and I cannot get my head wrapped around the different abilities that have come out with these Pokemon. They're what they do, their synergies. Like it's getting beyond my comprehension at this point. And now we're going to throw in crazy names, and I'm going to mess those up as well. So bear with me, and I'm going to get it wrong. I just got Cobalion done. Like, that was within the last 2 weeks. I figured out Cobalion, and some of you still say that it's wrong, but we're going to go Cobalion. So there you go, a new Mud Energy. Going back over here, we are going to login bonuses. They don't even tell us what they are. I believe today was a booster ticket, and I actually opened a Lugia with my booster ticket that I got for my login bonus. So that was pretty cool. But you'll get a login bonus once a day between now and the 21st. So that's like 2 weeks. I imagine there's not going to be anything game breaking or game changing. Probably gems, AI tickets, ingots, things of that nature. Obviously a booster ticket. But maybe a little bit more than what we typically get. So that is always nice. Probably gems. They'll probably do like 50 gems instead of the standard of 10 or 15 that we normally get. I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple of 50 in there. And my guess is by the time the 2 week period is up, they will give away 200 gems so that you can buy a booster pack. And now let's get into the part that I've been dreading the most, the new Pokemon. There are so many new and different Pokemon that I don't even, I'm going to go over the EX, and then I might just kind of glance through the rares and the uncommons. Now, I do want to say something that I have noticed personally in this game is people are complaining about how low the drop rates are for the EX out of boosters, and for sure time boosters. And what I think about that is, I think they gave away so many so freely at the beginning that when they back it down to probably what it should be, quite honestly, people feel like they're getting gypped. And so what I feel like happened with this particular booster, this new banner, more so than previous banners, is I think we're starting to see a switch in the game where rares are actually becoming viable Pokemon, and EXs are just a step above. But if you look at a lot of the rares right now, you know, they can compete with several of the EX Pokemon that were released when the game first started. So if you think about it that way, you can put together decks with rares and uncommons who evolve into rares and have competitive decks. Now, yeah, you're going to be behind as far as against EXs, but it takes a lot less resources to chain level and level up the uncommon and rare Pokemon that you can actually build up a 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10 chain level Pokemon that's a rare or an uncommon and have a very good deck. And so with this banner particularly, I think the rares are better than the rares have been previously. And I'm not talking about Gyarados, because Gyarados is kind of on its own planet as far as being, I think as far as rares go. As long as confusion is out of the game, rares, Gyarados is the best rare there is. And it's debatable. I mean, he's highly susceptible to status effects. But just on paper, I think if you were to rank the rares, I think you'd have to put Gyarados right there at the top of the list. But I think they do a really good job on this banner of making rares viable. So here we go. Let's check out what we've got. That is not what I wanted to see. Okay. So I'm going to start with this first one. And you guys always tell me, well, you like, it's 2 words put together. So this looks like Sukoni. And I'm sure that's not right. Suikuni. I'll go watch some of the other YouTubers like Chicken and Go Shiny. They pronounce them better than I do. So by the time I do a feature on this one, I will have his name down. But kind of looks like Suicide and Une. So Suikune is what I would go with. But he's a water type with the ability of purification. When this Pokemon moves from the bench to the field, remove any special conditions and curse markers from all the Pokemon you have on the field. Okay, so it's like Petilil, which removes status effects. Only this one removes curse markers as well. Its wheel is 2 dodge sections of 8, a 24 ice beam, doing 60 damage. If this Pokemon's knocked out, the battle opponent becomes frozen. Cool with that. Sheer Gold, a 24 slice 2-star purple. The battle opponent is knocked out. If the battle opponent is frozen, exclude it from the duel. So it's like Darkrai on steroids, basically, where Darkrai spins and sleeps the opponent, and then if he's adjacent to the sleeping Pokemon, they get sent to the PC. This one, if they're frozen, then you're next to them. If the battle opponent is knocked out, the battle opponent is frozen, exclude it from the duel. So my guess is if you freeze them on one turn and then you attack again because they're frozen and land on sheer cold, that is going to banish them from the deck, from the game. And then we're going to have an 8 size miss, which will go down to a 4 size miss at level 5. And then there's a 24 purple. If I were leveling this up, I would probably put 1 into Ice Beam to get it going to level 5. I'd put 1 into Ice Beam and then the rest into Sheer Cold. And the reason being that if a status effect happens, no, I guess it doesn't matter because it would lose the dodge. So never mind. I'd put them all into Sheer Cold. And this could potentially be a really nice Pokemon with good synergy with maybe, you know, a triple Weevil deck and Dark Energy, a Glaceon deck, Articuno, something where Ice comes in. And if you don't want to build, here's what I've said before, and I still believe it. If you try to build a gimmick deck, it's probably not going to be super successful. What you're going to want to do is have these extra abilities that are bonuses. So where I could see this Pokemon being useful is when paired with a water deck that has a Manaphy so that you get the buff. So it's then you're doing 80 and 90, which still isn't great. But also with an Empoleon in it, since Empoleon also has the Ice Beam, where if it gets knocked out, the opponent gets frozen. Then you're not building your deck around freezing and eliminating from the duel, but the possibility is there as just an added bonus, making your deck even that much better. That's kind of how I feel about that. A lot of the guys in the End Guild have been testing these decks out all morning. My general thought is, from what I've seen, and I'm not going to spoil whether I have them or not, but from what I've seen of these Pokemon, I think they're going to be great in the gym. The gym is going to be, this gym could be just completely outrageous, quite honestly. I don't know. The ultimate question is how do they do against Deoxys decks? And I think that's to be determined. There's nothing here on this Pokemon that makes me think it can stand up to a Deoxys deck. Even if you freeze the Pokemon, the Deoxys can just Cosmo energy and switch if you try to battle the frozen Pokemon. So I think we need a little more testing there. We are going to move on to Swampert. Pretty sure I have that one right. A 1 MP water ground with the ability of mud coating. When this Pokemon is on the field, if there are 3 or more water type Pokemon on the field, your ground type Pokemon with MP 1 or lower get 1 MP. So here we go. The other one, when it came on the field, removed status effects. And now we have this, when there's 3 other water types on the field, my ground types get 1 MP bonus if they're already a 1 MP. Off the top of my head, the ground that I can think of are Groudon and Rhyperior, maybe Onix. Maybe. I can't remember if he's ground or rock. But there you go. Its wheel has a 36 size hammer arm. This Pokemon gains weight, so it's very similar to, I believe it's Chestnut. When Chestnut has, and maybe it's even called hammer arm, if I'm not mistaken, has the same thing where it gains weight. Similar to Rhyperior, which has Bulldoze, this Pokemon has Tractor, a blue move. You may knock this Pokemon back 1 step and move the battle opponent to this Pokemon's previous location. If you do, the battle opponent gains weight. So it's kind of the opposite. You think of a Tractor as pulling something, and a Bulldozer pushing things. That's how I remember this. We have a 20 piece of Ice Punch that does 70 damage. Again, this Pokemon is knocked out, the battle opponent becomes frozen. So some decent synergy with the previous Pokemon. And then 12 Mists, which will become 8 at level 5. You know, my first thought would be, if I were going to level anything up on this Pokemon, I would probably go with Ice Punch. The reason being is Blue just gets murdered by Terrakion. And I will say, from all these Pokemon, the new ones that were released today, the thing I noticed is there is a ton of blue on these Pokemon. And that scares me and about their viability with Terrakion's running rampant. I'm just afraid that Terrakion is going to have a field day on most of these Pokemon. But that is to be determined and seen later. But I would do the Ice Punch because, yes, blue is the best. Because you're not going to lose rolling a blue. It always wins. But 110 is good. The blue is good. And if I'm going to get knocked out, leaving them frozen is a great status effect. If you get a Pokemon that is, you know, your opponent has 1 Pokemon on its goal, and they're attacking your goal, and you have Swampert on as your goalie, and you get knocked out, but he gets frozen, he's stuck all the way over on the other side of the field. And when you have a 4-on-4 situation, one of them's a goalie, and one of your opponents is frozen, that means they really have 2 Pokemon that they're playing with at that point. Very similar to how Leafeon's Grass Whistle in the Sleep is so damaging and game-changing. This could be the same type of thing. And that's why if I were to level this one up, I think I would put it into Ice Punch. As always, I do reserve the right to change my mind after experimenting with them, but these are my initial thoughts. Finally, the last EX is Seismitoad, also a ground and water type with the ability of Poison Touch. Any Pokemon that battles this Pokemon will become poisoned. And let me tell you, I've seen a couple poison decks running this Pokemon. There was one featured this morning, and if you missed it, the deck lost. Spoiler alert. And you can't go back and rewatch it, so. But man, every Pokemon that this guy's team faced was poisoned. And I can only imagine how frustrating that is, because you get a Crobat out there, a poison, a Venusaur, all of a sudden everything is hitting for 40 less damage, And it doesn't take, like, if you think about it, if you have a Deoxys A, which is doing 130 damage, but he has minus 40 in the attack column, then all of a sudden he's doing under 100, and it makes him, like, and that's Deoxys A, who is considered probably the strongest attacker in the game at the moment. So there's that. Looking at his wheel, dodge for 24 and a dodge for 24, an 8 miss and a 4 miss, so it's going to be 2 4 miss sections at level 5, a 36 section of Earthquake. All Pokemon on the field spin except this one. If they spin and miss, they're knocked out. Torterra and Tyranitar, I believe, have that same ability. And then we have a 24 slice purple bumpy vibration, causing opposing Pokemon adjacent to your Seismitoad, Palpitoad, and Time Pole gain weight. So there you go. Oh, and if I were leveling anything up on this one, I would probably go with the purple. But as you can see, as I scroll through these, lots and lots of gold. Take 3, blue. Moving on, we go into the rares. Marshtomp, Stunk, not Stunk, Stunfisk, Sharpedo. Moving on to the uncommons, Palpitoad, Time Pole, Seaking, and Goldeen with Crawdaunt. Crawdaunt. Depends. If you're in the part of the country that says aunt, like this is my aunt, or if you're in a part of the country that says aunt, then this is a Crawdaunt or a Crawdaunt, depending on probably how you say it. I feel like these Pokemon probably need their own video, but that's probably what I'll do, quite honestly. I will probably go ahead and make a video on the rares and then on the uncommons if the uncommons feel like they need it. I think there's some interesting abilities in some of these Pokemon, and I don't think I do a good job of going over all of the different Pokemon that aren't EX, and I feel like that's a disservice to a lot of you guys because not everybody has all the EX Pokemon, and then you guys are kind of left hanging like, well, what about this rare, or what about this one? So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm actually in Chicken's tournament and I'm playing my match tomorrow against Giggity. So I've got to produce that content. So maybe tomorrow I will, sometime this weekend, probably this weekend. You know what? Most likely this weekend I will do a video featuring the rares and then a video featuring the uncommons, the ones that I have and that I'm able to do. So that is a long-winded but very brief overview of the new Pokemon. Sextuple packs are back. Go ahead and pick those up. You know, if you were stuck wondering, should I get a sextuple pack or should I get the quad pack? My answer for you, if you're asking me, is if you're using a deck that works for you, I would probably go with sextuple packs because you're guaranteed EX Pokemon, and if the Pokemon you're using, say you're using Zapdos, Zapdos is available in the sextuple packs, and chain levels are so very important on a Pokemon like Zapdos right now, where the Swords of Justice start at 101 and your Zapdos starts at 100, that if your Zapdos isn't doing at least 101 damage, then you're behind. Therefore, I would go with the sextuple packs and try to open up a Zapdos. If you were still looking for a deck Or if your dream has always been to run a poison deck or an ice deck, then go ahead and do the quad banners. They seem like they're good niche pieces in decks that will help complete decks. I don't know that I would start building a deck and use these new Pokemon as the center focal point of that deck. But if you're already running like Steel Energy and you have Empoleon in your deck, I think you could add one of these, you know, the first one that I went over today, Sukune, because of his ability as a nice complementary piece to your Empoleon and your Steel deck. Other than that, I can't tell you how to spend your money. Speaking of money, my tournament started today. It seems to be going really well. A lot of people are playing games. As far as I can tell, there's never been a lull where people were unable to find games. I think we had over 160 people sign up. Some people are already knocked out. I think the leader is Jet something. I don't want to mess with his name, so let me open up and give him a proper shout out. Jet Erickson is, and Shantola. Both of them have 9 gems and are leading the way as of right now. As of my recording, those are your 2 leaders, with Nazim having 5, Phantom, X-Phantom having 4, NJF having 4, Geoke24 having 4, and Nejin having 4, or Nejin having 4. So those are your leaders right now. I'm having a lot of fun following along with the action of the tournament. I'm not enrolled in it myself. Didn't think that would really be cool for me to enter my own tournament. But yeah, thank you to everybody who signed up. 160 is way, way, way more than I actually ever even dreamed that would enter this tournament. If you've already been knocked out, fear not. There will be other tournaments. This one was kind of a whatever goes. Future tournaments will be themed, where maybe evolution decks or no EX or all rare and under or all uncommon, whatever. But there will definitely be different things, and we will do this again. But thank you to everyone who signed up. You've got a week to play your games. And with that, I will drop my booster openings to the end of this video. So until next time.